Welcome to another episode of Alpha Intuition Podcast, where we're here to help you become the CEO of your life. I'm your host, Keisha L. Blair, number one life balancing coach and newly certified extreme execution coach. And today I am thrilled and excited to have, one of the most grateful people that I know, Mr. Gr8day himself, Mr. Kevin Ferguson. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, it's always a great day. How you doing?
Man, beautiful. That is awesome. All right. So look, I tried to put together this nice intro for you. So I just want to read it so people can actually know all the stuff that I know about you. And I know we got a lot of folks, you real big out there in them streets, but I'm just going to read this anyway. All right, y'all. I'm about to tell y'all reason why I asked Kevin to be on my show. Kevin is not only a dynamic speaker and facilitator, but also the driving force behind the Ferguson Group. And he's also the chapter president of the Chicago chapter for the Next Level Speakers Academy. By the impressive age of 30, he had already carved a niche for himself as a business owner, real estate investor, and corporate executive. So in today's episode, what I'm going to ask Kevin to share is just his inspiring journey to build a successful real estate business from the ground up, despite the lack of experience and discouragement from others. And he's also going to talk about his unique ability to recognize and cultivate greatness in others, and as a gift that he has positioned himself as a sought-after mentor and coach. How does that sound? Did I do okay?
Oh yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it's just a little bit. I feel like something like somebody, you know.
All right. That's good. That's how you're supposed to feel. All right. So we just gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna let you talk about. I want to ask you. My first question here is talk about just your journey into entrepreneurship. What did that look like for you?
My journey into entrepreneurship was, that felt really innate. If you learn more about my story, just quickly, I grew up a product of a single grandmother, so a single mom household. My mom has schizophrenia. My dad, at like 18 or 19, was already struggling with alcoholism. So my grandmother raised me. So I displayed all the signs of abandonment, all the signs of troubled teens, so on and so forth. I was in church and I had one of my youth pastors pull me to the side, and he had made the decision not to speak death into me, but to speak life into me. And he basically, to compress the story, he basically told me that I was the leader. And one of the reasons that he was pulling me aside is because all the kids were following behind me. And if he could get me to understand that I was the leader of the pack and that I have an innate ability to be a leader, that everything in the world would start to open up to me, because I would be operating the gift that God gave me. And I went from, a super bad student, DF student in junior high school, grade school, suspended all the time, to a 3.9 GPA in high school, and, starting my own business. And I believe when I say innate, when you adjust your self-talk, and your self-talk is no longer I'm bad. Your self-talk is no longer I'm not good enough. Your self-talk is no longer I am not worth it based on being abandoned. And your self-talk becomes I'm a leader. I am great. I am amazing. I can do this. You then start to fix your brain, your mind, and your sight on your version of that. And for me, my version of that was business people. My version of that was millionaires, wealthy people, because my assumption is that, it's not even an assumption, but my assumption at the time was that the money that you have or the thing that you have is a derivative of the thoughts and actions that you put out there. So somebody who's made hundreds of thousands of dollars at the time, millions of dollars, or who has had a successful business has the right thoughts, actions, and disciplines necessary to get those things. So I want to express that, because that is what I know that I am, because my self-talk began to change. So I began to identify as that. So business became just natural. And then of course my grandmother and my aunts and everybody, our family is very enterprising. But one of the big frustrations that I've had through the years is they're going to take all of that to the grave. Every last ounce of intuition that they had, from the salad dressing to the Misty Mate to the flipping business to the barbecue house to all of these like innovative ideas that they've never even tried is going to go to the grave. I didn't want to be the type of person that had all these ideas, didn't activate on any of them. And then when you see a big corporation come about, you're the person, man, that was my idea. No, it wasn't. It wasn't your idea. It was a thought. And you didn't do anything with it. So when it came to being active on my thoughts, it was something that I had to do because I watched my grandmother, my aunties have these ideas that just fall by the wayside, and they live the just normal life. Now, a good life, but a normal life because they didn't activate on those things. So that's where my entrepreneurship journey started, within my mind, belief in myself, and then realizing that if I don't act on some of these things that are in my head, if I just become a drone, I would say, somebody who just goes to work, all that's just going to go to the grave with me, like it's happening in my family.
Yeah.
And with that said, there was where my first business was born. Well, not my first business, but my very first real business was born, which was aquarium maintenance and setup. I worked in a pet store when I was 15 years old, and I saw a need. And, you know, if you solve a need, you solve a problem, then, you know, you can form a business and make some good money. And the need was that people didn't understand fish. I had a biology background. People didn't understand fish, how they made it, how to keep them alive. And I learned all about the filters. I learned how to change those filters. And then somebody said, well, can you come do this? And I said, sure. And I remember one lady in this area called Briar Ridge, wealthy lady. So I was just doing it for free. And she was like, well, how much do I owe you? And I was like, no, nothing. I was just coming to help, this, that, and the other. She said, anytime you take your intellect and you help others, you charge.
Period. That's a good point.
Right? That's what she said. And from that point forward, my first business was born.
Wow, man. So you was out there sleeping with fishes.
Yeah, that was my first. I mean, my first business was dragging a lawnmower up and down the street. Wow. You know, asking, could I cut their grass? But so that was where I learned how to just be enterprising. My grandma, you want to make some money? You go up the street, take that lawnmower. And I would call it a business, but I was like 9. But my first real business, was with the aquariums. Deuce Bigelow. I was out here.
Wow. So you touched on something. Let me ask you this, because I know this is where we have similar backgrounds. I lived with my grandmother. My mother was schizophrenic. Me and my brothers, we lived with my grandmother. So how did that affect you, you know, growing up, knowing that you basically didn't have the same type of mother that everybody else had?
You know, the human psyche and the ability to be resilient, especially in young people, is amazing. And I would encourage all parents to not curse their children with the burden of whatever that burden is. I didn't grow up feeling like there was something wrong. That was my mother. My grandmother did an excellent job in front of me, just acting as if it was my mother. Not that it was normal. It just, she didn't go around making a big deal of the abnormal. And because she didn't make a big deal of the abnormal, I never grew up like, oh, my mom's different. Oh, there's something wrong. Did I pick up on those things that I noticed? But it was my mom. And so because it was my mom, it was just my mom. And that's just how it was. And people would laugh, but so would I, because the things that she was doing was funny. It was. But because my grandmother and my family never made a big deal out of it, they didn't prompt me with the, oh my God. When I was young, I would just laugh and it was funny. And so if my friends were laughing, yes, they were laughing at my mom, but I was laughing at what my mom was doing. And because what my mom was doing was funny, it is very sad, but for a kid, very funny for a person to just start talking, answering questions, and then get mad at nothing. It's funny to watch. It really is. However, when you shift somebody's interpretation to it's abnormal, that shouldn't be happening. Oh my God. Now this is what goes on in my psyche. So my grandmother did a good job of not putting that in my psyche. So with the true answer to that question is that I never grew up feeling like I was in a place of lack because of my mom. I grew to mature to understand, but I never had like a negative feeling. It was my mom. And then my aunt, my uncles, they all did a very, very good job of supporting me in different ways. So I didn't carry the burden. And that's what I would encourage your listeners to take on. You don't ignore it. It is what it is, but you also don't make a big deal out of it in the negative, because that's how the child's going to interpret it. It's how you handle it. And my grandmother handled it very well. By the time I was 19, I was able to see all of the other stuff. But when I was young, my grandmother didn't make a big deal out of it. So I didn't get a feel of negativity. I didn't feel like I was lacking.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah, grandmothers, man, especially in our era, they were like the backbones just about of everybody's family. They held it down, made sure that even when something looked like it was wrong, they still tried to make it right. Or
Man,
you tried to make the best out of it.
I had this conversation with a guy yesterday, believe it or not, about grandparents, and he's getting ready to be a grandparent, and he smokes cigarettes. And I said, "Hey, bro, I need you to stop smoking those cigarettes." He's like, "Man, I'm trying to quit, man. I had quit for 10 years. I'm back smoking a cigarette." I said, "See, the problem in our community is that we don't care about longevity." I said, "You were a father, and a grandfather is your second chance at healing from your mistakes that you made with your child." And he looked at me. I said, "You made mistakes because you were 20, you were 25, you were 30. You didn't know no better." I said, "So you cursed your child with whatever the inadequacies that you had. And now that you're going to be a grandfather, the longer you live, the more you have the opportunity to help mend all of the things that you did just simply by ignorance. You were just young and didn't know any better. However, if you pass on at 60, that grandchild doesn't get the help that you were trying to give your child. You no longer can mend those mistakes. So being a grandparent is a benefit and a blessing, because you're now able to reach over a generation and say, hey, this was the mistake that I made, and I'm going to make up for the inadequacies that he or she has based on my ignorance when I was young. I'm going to give you the wisdom. I'm not going to expect that parent to be any different, but I can step over and I can help you heal, and I can help run a generation to the top. And I've seen that in our generations consistently. Grandparents are missing more and more and more. Grandparents are getting younger, so grandparents don't have wisdom. Grandparents are no longer grandparents. By the time they're 50 or 60, they are still out here trying to sister girl. So they can't reach over the generation like they did in the past. My grandmother was able to reach over my mother. My mother was schizophrenic. My dad was an alcoholic, but my grandmother said, not so fast. I can reach around. And at 94 years old, she can reach over me. And the mistakes that I'm making with my daughter, she is still able to reach. So God is continuing to bless her, but grandparents are a blessing, and they're fleeting so fast. And I told him, I said, so you need to keep your health as long as possible, because the Bible even says that you're supposed to take care of your children's children. So when you think about that, if you're not here, you're not even in alignment with what God had in store for you. So you need to be around. So you need to leave them cancer sticks alone. You need to stop vaping. You need to stop that so that you can fulfill and you can overcome your mistakes and you can uplift the generation, because that's what we need. And this society is missing grandma. Big mama used to be the one to fix the problems. That's how it went. And when you, even if you was out here 30 years old, sister girling, grandma was like, that's fine, baby. Go out and do whatever. I made mistakes too. Go ahead. But grandma would still get, your little kid in order and teach them manners and how to wash dishes and do all of that stuff. So we need grandmas back, vote for grandma.
Man, what? Look, my grandmama probably wouldn't have been as eloquent. She would have been like, you going out there in the streets, but the baby gonna stay here. You do you, but I'm gonna make sure this child is right. And
Because that's what they understood. They understood what was important.
Yes, it's almost like grandparents, I've always said that it's almost like that's your opportunity for a do-over, because, it's almost like trial and error that first time. So when the second generation comes along, you have an opportunity to guide your child through the things that you went through so they don't make the same mistakes that you did.
Absolutely. So my grandmother, I'm telling you, 94, baby. She trying to go for another one. My grandmother, she fishing. She shooting a line all the way through generations, because that'll be 5 generations that she can stretch.
I think my grandmother, she passed away a few years ago, but I believe she saw her great grandchildren. So 2 greats before she passed away. And I just had the my children. I'm trying to be one of those parents to where I tell my kids, y'all can't make me a grandma until I turn at least 50. Well, I'm 50 right now, and it ain't even nowhere in the works for my kids. They on their own mission. They're doing great things, which is awesome. But I'm like, I kind of want to be around for my grandchildren, and when y'all decide to have them. But it's almost like if they can't have them on the internet, they ain't trying to have no kids. This generation right here, this Gen Z, they kind of different.
Yeah. I mean, then you got Gen Alpha, so it's it's getting thick out here. So
Exactly.
interesting.
It's funny you say that. Yeah, that is so funny. But you mentioned something about smoking. So I used to smoke years ago,
Mm.
and one of the things that made me stop was because my son, the one Bishop, he's 20. He'll be 25 next month, and he had to be about, I don't know, about 8 or 9 years old. And he asked me, he said, "Why did I smoke?" And he said, "Isn't smoking a drug?" And I said, "Well, parents, when you're that young, you're always trying to think of a good answer to tell your kids." And I said, "Well, there's good drugs and bad drugs, like prescription drugs, and then you got the so this is not really a drug." And he said, "But Mom, I don't want you smoking." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because I don't want you to die." So when your child tells you something like that, you kind of look at things a little bit different. It kind of shook me, right, to where I felt like, okay, maybe I need to rethink this. So I stopped smoking when I was 39. And so what, 11 years now, but so just what you mentioned to your friend, I thought about the future, and these are things to where you see people all the time dying from smoking and dying from all these other things. Why am I pouring this poison into my body that's going to cause me to deteriorate before my time?
Yeah, why? It's pointless to do, but we do it for the now because we're not paying attention to the future. We are getting, as a society, we are getting further away from preparation or planning. Everything is now and what I can have right now, and we assume that we're going to be able to kick the can. Um, what is it? Proper planning prevents poor performance.
Yeah, there might be an extra
Um,
piece some people put in there, but yeah.
yeah, proper planning prevents poor performance. And when you just take that and you apply it to just your life, like, how is drinking every night? How is eating fatty foods? How is not exercising proper planning for the future, or preventing poor performance? Right? There is none, because you're not planning for that. You don't care about when you're 50. You care about right now and how you look, and you care about the internet, and you care about having fun right now, but you're not planning for the day that you turn 50. You're not planning for the day that you turn 60. So it's really good that your child was able to kind of shock you, because I mean, look at you now. At 50, you can speak, you're beautiful, all of those things. Keep smoking for those 11 years. That just starts to tear you down. That tar. I have a person that used to clean her aquarium, and she smoked the entire time. And I'm talking to her now, and you can just clearly see that it's worked on her pulmonary system, because she didn't really got much of a voice. But it's not like she's 80. She's only maybe 53, 54. But there's a big difference. But now you've got good, strong lungs. You got beautiful skin. You're not rushing back to the hospital. You're able to move and all of that, because something 11 years ago shook you in place, because 11 years of beating on your lungs can change a lot. And think about it. Here's what you didn't plan for. You didn't plan for COVID, but what was COVID taking out? It was taking out that respiratory system. Right. And so when God had your son say to you, "I don't want you to die," I think God was like, there's this little thing that you can't see right now, Keisha, but I need you to see it, because there's impact that I need you to have on a generation. But if you keep with these cancer sticks, you keep smoking, you keep doing this, when that thing called COVID-19 comes around, you're not going to be able to hold your breath for that minute and a half. You're going to be one of them people who is ousted, and then you're going to be out. So I'm going to have to send this little angel, this little messenger through to you to stop you, so that you can last. Because I need you to 2055, whenever it is, he's going to call you home. But he needs you. So he sent the message through your little one. So I'm glad that you heard the message, because that's why we even have this podcast, because you're here and you're able to continue and have the impact. So I want to applaud him. What's his name?
Bishop Osai.
Bishop Osai. I want to applaud Bishop Osai. He did his thing. He got his mama to stop smoking them sticks. I'm loving it.
Yes, man. I'm telling you, it just hits different. Like, when you hear your child say something like that. And another area that hits different for me was when I turned 50, which was last year in November. That was right around the time that we met. I think we met last year in September. So, our friend anniversary is coming up, right?
Yeah, I don't remember getting it. I don't remember getting the invite to the 50th though. I mean,
I didn't have one. I did. Well,
Mhm.
look, I turned up so much at 49. At 50, I decided to just chill and just reflect because I was in Vegas and I don't even remember what happened when I turned 49. Once I found my iPhone,
I don't
I stopped the
remember.
pictures. Man, that's all I'm gonna say about that. Look,
Okay.
that was one of those hangover moments. But as I turned 50, let me get back on track here. As I turned 50, I had to reflect, and I know we've heard ET. He talked about this, right? To where 50 just hits a little bit different. You start to look at life a little bit differently than you did before you got to that point, because you start looking at your friends who are passing away from certain things. You start looking at what your future could look like. You start looking at the things that you want to leave behind as far as your legacy, not, for your children, for your children's children. So I didn't think about that before. And it's just like, this was probably the first birthday that I had, to where I felt like, I need to start putting things in place because I may not be here, right? Up until that point, I never thought like that. So when you get 50, I know you're probably on about 35 right now with that beautiful smooth skin you got. But, I'm sure it's a lot of other people in their 50s who can attest to what I'm saying. You start to look at things a little bit different, and you start to think about some of the things that you mentioned about what am I going to do? What's going to happen when I'm no longer here, and how am I going to leave things in place for the people that are important to me?
Girl, let me tell you something. You gonna have to have a whole nother episode for this. You done hit a pain point with me. So one of the reasons, back to really the main point, was when I started my business. Like, so childhood trauma, obviously coming from a place of lack. I always was living in fear that I would be in a space where I'm not able to provide an environment for my kids, right? And there's two issues here. One is that those things that you fear the most actually come to you. And so I've had some rocky moments while my kids have been here, where it's like I am not really in the best position to do that. But because when I was 16, I know life is long. We say life is short, but it's long. 16 to 30 is a long time. But I knew that somewhere in this time I was going to be able to hit a low spot. But I always thought about the future. And I feel like the most successful people, the people who get the most done, are not simply thinking about living for today. They have a driving thing, which is their why. When they say, oh, well, what's your why, right? In other words, what's your legacy? What are you really trying to leave? And when you recognize that one day you might not be here, and because I didn't have parents in my life, like I have a grandmother, and I told you how good that was, but I still knew I didn't have parents. I lived in the reality that my kids one day will not have the covering of me because I never had the covering of a parent. I was still always a black sheep because my siblings, see, my aunts and uncles, no, not so much, but my siblings, they're natural kids, so they silo. And guess who was kind of left alone? Me. And that sense of loneliness was like, man, I realized, wow, I don't really have any protection. So when my name gets dragged through the mud, I don't have a mom to come to my rescue. I don't have a dad to come to my wait a minute. Okay. So if I need to borrow some money, I don't have a mom to come to my rescue. I don't have a dad to come to my rescue. How am I going to pay for college? Well, wait. So if I have kids, and I hit a low spot, who's gonna pay for the kid? You know what? I need to get on it. And then that's what inspired me to be like, no. I gotta be on my success train, because one day I'm going to have to raise a child, or one day I'm going to have to be the rock for somebody. And the problem that we all have is that when we're 35, we don't think that at 45 we could be in the ground. When we have kids, we think, oh, okay, when I'm 70, who's to say you gonna get to 70? Exactly. Why you out here finger popping and doing all this stuff? But if you put yourself in the ground, no health insurance, no life insurance, none of this stuff, and something just happens, this thing called COVID-19 takes you out, as healthy as you may be, and your kids are now, all the work you done did, your kids now have to pay all your bills. They have to take care of you, because they know ain't no real kid gonna let mama sit up and half breathe and just die in the living room. They're going to take off of work, quit their job, do all these things. And we haven't planned for any of those things because we're living for now. And the thoughts and the most successful people recognize that the future is going to come, and I have to have things already in place so that we can go forward. Most organizations, you know this because you're from corporate, most organizations have the year plan before the year started. Mm-hmm. Good organizations have 2 to 5 years already kind of planned in the works because you have to be ready for those things. Dealing with now is just being able to pivot.
That's right.
And most of us we can't get out of survival mode because all we're doing is constantly pivoting. But if you pivot 4 times, you're back in square one. And the problem is that you're trying to run and you pivot, and then you got to pivot, and you got to pivot, and you got to pivot, and you got to pivot, but you didn't get any forward motion. You just went in a circle because you kept pivoting, but you pivoted because you didn't plan. You didn't plan because you thought it was fun. You thought it was all jokes. And so when you hit a bump, you pivoted, and you thought, okay, I did a good job because I pivoted. But now you got to pivot again to get back facing the right direction so you can go forward. So when you run a business from a scarcity mindset, when you run a business from a place of lack, when you run a business in survival mode, it's pivot, 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 pivot. And now you're spinning in circles. You can't get anything done because you weren't even planning for that roadblock or that bump in the first place because everything was fun, and now you done hit a bump and now you spiraling out of control. You 10 steps backwards and you can't get it. So when I say that's a nerve for me, like it's a nerve for me because I've watched many of my friends and close colleagues not do well simply because they will not trust the gift that God has given me, which is foresight. Like sometimes I I think we talked about this before. I see so far down the road that it seems unrealistic or it seems like I'm being extra. And I have to learn how to hone my gift to only show people like a couple of months or maybe a year in front of them, but I'll see 4 years from now. And what makes me nervous or really bothers me is that 4 years goes past and it goes exactly the way that I saw it. And then my friends get mad at me because they think that I wanted it to happen in the first place and I want to be right. But it's actually painful because it's like 4 years ago, I kind of told you this was the path that we were on. I knew we were going to get here. And now we're here. And I can't help you from here. We can only work with what we have now. But I wanted you to know 5 years ago that this wasn't going to last. I wanted you to know that you had to change your eating habits 6 years ago. I could see what was going on. And so that's why it just pricks me a lot because you have to be somebody who's planning for the future. Other than that, you're just flowing around. And I know I'm talking a lot because this is that point. Right. And there's a book I read by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil. And the devil in that book said, my main tool is to get a person to drift. The drift is going through life without a plan. And that's how he captures everything because before you know it, it's over. And he's at the other end and he's saying, I got you. That's so it's a pain point for me because I want people to get out of the drift. I want people to be on purpose because, Mr. Great Day, gratitude, resilience, new start, determination, attitude, and action. And at the end of every day, there is a why, which is purpose. And if you live on purpose and you recognize that at the end of every single day that you woke up, everything you went through, there is a why, you are now a man focused. You are now a woman focused. And it is biblical and everything. It says that a focused man cannot be defeated. And that's what I want everybody to leave and understand. And when they don't, it's like sticking me in the back of the head with pins.
Man, I love it. I love it. Look, so I'm going to ask you about this because I can feel it coming through my screen right now. It's like I recognize this greatness. So I want to ask you, at what age did you feel like, man, I know that I have this inside of me and I want to share this with other people and help them to become just as great as I feel?
To be honest, I probably recognized that in my early 20s. When I was 18 years old, I had 2 or 3 people come to me to write their senior term papers so that they could graduate. And I would go sit down and write these papers in a night. Like it didn't take me long where they were just stuck. But I wasn't doing it to cheat. I was doing it because I knew that the person's strength wasn't writing. And I didn't want to judge a person. I didn't want a person not to graduate from high school because they're just not good writers. They just can't come up with it. Like, that's not fair. I just didn't think it was fair. But what I would often do is I would often cultivate those people. And I will tell you a quick story about how it felt. I had a guy, his name, my friend, and he'll probably watch this episode, not owed to him because he's doing great right now. But we were young, and he had said to me he wanted to be a photographer. And I was like, oh, okay. Now, again, the ability to kind of understand that if you want to be successful, you got to do what successful people do. Like, it was something that was in my self-talk. You want to be successful, do what successful people do, and find somebody doing what you do on a higher level than you and in a greater space than you. Follow what they're doing, and you'll find yourself having the same results. Those are the things that I had in my heart and in my mind early on. So we're at a wedding or we're somewhere, and there's this photographer. Now, mind you, my buddy's not a photographer technically at the time. So I just take it upon myself to make the introduction. Well, however, maybe it's the way I did it. Maybe I didn't ask him first, but my friend took offense to it. So he took offense to me doing this. And I then, young, got angry, like, bruh, I'm just trying to help you out. Not really realizing that what was happening is that God gave me foresight, and I recognized that he had a talent. This wasn't something that he was just saying he wanted to do. I could see that he had a talent, and so therefore I tied into his success. Like, I was like, okay, cool. Now here's the thing that you got to learn how to do that I already know how to do. Find a person, no matter, that's doing it at a higher level than you and more successful than you at it, and then take them on as mentors. But he wasn't ready for that yet. But let me tell you this: at the end of the day, sometimes it hurts to show people the path. And I don't know if he ever followed up with that guy or whatever, but my man's is now one of the best photographers in the Chicagoland area. When I say I admire what it is that he does, like, he shows up, he's classy, he's respectful, he knows how to get the pictures, he's creative, he continues to master his craft, and he has gone on to have a great photography business. But that was back at, I would say, 18 years old, where I was able to recognize that within him. And yeah, maybe my execution wasn't the best, but I recognize, and now look at him. And I'm not saying it was me, because I'm not going to even take any credit for it. But my point was that 17 or 18, I was able to recognize talent very, very early and kind of push, them into where it is that they go. And it was always it was negative feedback through 19, 20, 21, 22. And that's because young people are still finding their identity. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know that I was doing it. So I wasn't able to be eloquent to say, I'm just simply trying to help you because I recognize greatness in you. I was a little sharp-tongued 19-year-old, like, whatever, bro. Shoot, if you fine. You know what I'm saying? That was the end of it. But that was just me having a gift that I didn't recognize how to use, and I was using it improperly. But it was still being used, right? It's like having a weapon. You don't know how to use it, but if you hit the wrong button, it's gonna go off.
That's right. That's right, man. So go on and shout out his business, though, man. Because, like, look, I might come down there and I might need me a good photographer. What's the name of his business?
Oh, let me get you his Instagram. He is his name is Jamal Simpson. He used to go by Snaps, but I feel like he changed his business address. So I'm gonna shout him out because I'm gonna pull him up on the gram right now. For y'all. Give me 1 second. Because I know him personally, so like all of that stuff is not yeah, still Snaps. SNAPZ. His name is Jamal. And he goes by Jamal. Yeah, Jamal Rashawn. I was gonna say. And so his business is Jamal Rashawn Photography. But he goes by Snaps. So you look up Jamal Rashawn, JAMAAL Rashawn, RAUSHAN. A good friend of mine, and when you see him and you see his work, you will see that he is a excellent photographer in the Chicagoland area, y'all. And he travels, So he come on down there to you too,
All
Keisha.
right, you come on down to Memphis. All right, now we're
Yeah,
what,
he gonna
6
come
hours
on out there,
away.
man.
You know, since I done lost all this weight, now I got to give me a new photo shoot. So I might
Yeah,
have to hit
yeah.
them
I'm
all
sending
up.
him. He on his way. I'm gonna text him right now.
Shoot, don't play. But look, so you mentioned something, right? So I'm gonna ask you about how do you go about identifying just that greatness in other people, right? Or just their potential that they don't see. And then what do you think the biggest barrier is that they have that prevents them from reaching their greatness?
Not seeing it. It's very hard to. So humility is a double-edged sword, right? That's why a lot of the greats are cocky, because it's the extreme opposite of being humble.
Wait. You said they are cocky or they are not cocky?
Are
Oh, okay.
Tom Brady, one of the cockiest people that you will find. Michael Jordan, one of the cockiest people you will find. Mike Tyson, one of the cockiest people that you will find in his prime. Now he's humble down.
Don't you say,
He's
don't you
humble
better not say
down
Kobe. Don't
later.
you say nothing
But
bad
in their
about Kobe.
primes, like look at study the greats. If you study the greats
Yeah.
in their primes, they were the cockiest individuals out there. And there was something on Instagram where this guy he said, and I'll send it to you. But he basically said that the problem that people have with their greatness is that they don't understand that there's a balance. God has given you the beast for a reason. The problem is that we don't want to engage that beast because the world has told us to never follow the beast, only follow the beauty. And he's like, no, there are times where it requires the beast. And when you think about sports, that's where you need the beast. And when you think about trying to be successful and staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning and waking back up and getting past adversity, that's where you need the beast. Now, when it comes to sharing and caring and helping humanity, that's where you need the beauty. And so the problem that people have is that they can't identify that cockiness is just the inverse of the extreme opposite, which is the humility. And so because we're taught to be so humble, what happens is that our competitive edge begins to go down and we don't even see our own greatness. Tom Brady never felt like there was a throw that he was ever going to miss. Michael Jordan didn't feel like there was a shot that he would ever miss. Kobe Bryant didn't feel like there was a person that he couldn't beat. LeBron James feels like he's the GOAT. And LeBron may be the GOAT to people who didn't see Michael Jordan. And they say, like, you think you're a phantom till the phantom show up. So, I mean, LeBron might be the GOAT until we could go back in time and bring Michael Jordan back up and they could play one-on-one. But again, the GOATs have a cockiness about them that drives them. But humble people tend to miss out on their greatness because that's cocky and we shy from it. When you think about an Eric Thomas, what did Eric Thomas say? I don't need no table. I'm building my own table.
That's right.
Like, I don't even need a table. I'm building my own. I don't need you, right? I don't need you. Like, because I'm going to build my own. That's as cocky can be. But he balances it out with everything else. And so the people who miss out on that, they are operating in the extreme humility and not seeing the things that they do the best. The thing that I do very well is identify that, see that they have greatness within them. I can just see it. I can see how they talk to people, how it comes about. I can see those things. That's a God-given gift. I can't even really identify it. But because of my grandmother and how she brought me up, I have a way with words. And I have a way with words and I have a motivating, inspirational approach to things. So I'm able to bring people from like excessively humble to kind of engage in a little bit of that beast. I'm also able to bring some of the people who are operating too far in their beast into the center, because the beast is going to run into a roadblock. Because what did Tom Brady struggle with? His teams a lot of times didn't like him because what? Right? Kobe Bryant, same thing. Michael Jordan, same thing. It was until they started to learn how to balance that and say, oh, yeah, I'm a beast, but they might not be there. So let me get them here, that they saw success. So I'm able to help people go as far as they can go because I'm really able to help balance them. I take overly humble people and teach them their greatness. And I take overly great people and teach them the humility necessary to build a team. Because as Jeremy Anderson, I think Jeremy told this. I feel like it was Jeremy who said, like, you ain't gonna be no millionaire by yourself.
That's
like,
right.
You're not. Right? You're gonna need a team of people. And Michael Jordan didn't win a championship alone.
Yeah.
Neither did LeBron. Neither did Kobe.
Mm.
Neither did Tom Brady. And then we can go as far to say that Mike Tyson didn't win not one bout by himself because his corner had to talk to him, right? Customizer had to train him. Floyd Mayweather, you're the one in the fight. But when you're in the fight and you got your bell rung, what you're doing is going back to your coaching. And your coaching was Customaggio. Your coaching was Mayweather Senior. That was your coaching. And that's what comes to your mind when you're in your innate state. So
yes,
I mean, that is how and what, and I know I probably kind of got off topic, but how am I able to do it is just a God-given ability. And the problem that people have is that they don't see it. I see it, and I'm able to inspire them to engage in that and then unleash the beast.
Yes. So you mentioned Jeremy Anderson and Dr. Eric Thomas, E.T., the hip hop preacher. So for those of you that don't know, Kevin and I are both a part of Next Level Speakers Academy.
Mm-hmm.
I met Kevin through Next Level Speakers Academy. He was my first point of contact, mentor, and coach. And so I want you to talk about just the journey that you took into Next Level, but then also let's talk about there was some promotion or something I think that I read that you forego that you decided not to take to become an entrepreneur. So just talk about that path of you just leaving corporate, deciding to take a chance on yourself, and then how did you end up being a part of Next Level?
Okay. So I'm glad you asked that because I was hoping somebody eventually would ask that again. So when I was 18 years old and I was in college, I was going to school to be a doctor, or I was going to go to school to be a doctor. I think it was 19. So I just started school to be a doctor, and I had to put myself through school. My grandmother was not in position to put me through school. The unfortunate thing is that my grandmother made like 37 grand, I think it was. And that was at the time, that was slightly outside of the FAFSA the bumpers. So we really didn't qualify for a lot of financial aid. We got a little bit, but not a lot of financial aid. So I had to work to kind of fill in the gap. So between my grandmother and myself, we were able to get me through one of the most expensive colleges in Chicago, which was Loyola University. So working two jobs, I'm going back and forth, and my store director at the time at PetSmart, Mike Balzer, great guy. He helped me with a lot of my leadership as well because he would take me under his wing. But Mike Balzer, he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, I like what you're doing. You're doing a great job, and there's a need coming up, and I just want to put it out there. We're thinking about promoting somebody, and I think that you should do it." So he wanted to promote me to the lead in the back, or I think it might have been even the manager, the manager of the stock, and I would be able to receive trucks and do all of that stuff. And I was like, "Oh, well, what does it require?" And he was like, "Well, we're gonna have to take you from part-time to full-time." And I was like, "Oh, well, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that." And he was like, well, just think about it. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So there was nothing to think about. I came back the next day and I was like, "Yeah, I can't take the promotion." And he was like, "Well, I really think that you should think about this again." And I said, "Well, why?" He says, "Look, a lot of people have dreams to go to school and do these things. And I'm not saying you can't go to school. What I'm saying to you is that, while you're going to school, you can be doing this, but it'll require full-time hours. And you'll be doing them both. So it's fine. I'm not telling you not to go to school." So then the real reason came about, because I didn't want to say it to him, because at the time I didn't want him to think I was like doing the most. So I was like, well, if I'm going to school full-time and working full-time, I'm not going to have time for my business. So he's like, "Well, what's your business?" I'm like, "Oh, I clean aquariums on the side." He was like, "Well, how much could you really be making from that?" And I was like, I wasn't going to tell him. So I'm like, I'm pretty good. So he's like, "Yeah, that's great." He was like, "But what's the future in cleaning aquariums? I think the better move for you would be to take the promotion. That'll help you pay for school, and and then from there you can pay for school, go be a doctor. That's fine, but you'll have experience in management, You'll be able to pay for school and then you go off and be a doctor. I said, yeah, but what about my business? He was like, the likelihood that this business is going to be successful is very low. And I was like, well, I disagree. Like, I think that I can run this business. I probably make more money doing my business than I can being a manager of stock or whatever it is. And he was like, I mean, if that's what you want to do, I'm not going to stop you. So I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not going to take the promotion because I still got to run my business. I feel like my business will make me more money. So then he's like, well, how much can you really make from this business? Oh, $250 an hour. So he said, what? I said, yeah. So I clean the aquarium. I charge $1 a gallon. A lot of people who want their aquarium cleaned, it's about 150 gallons. I was like, but normally I have to fix the filter. I got to do other things like that, but it takes me about an hour. I do 2 or 3 of those in a weekend and I don't even need the job. I was like, so I'm just going to keep my job I'm going to keep my business, and I'm good working here part-time because it allows me customers. But like, I don't really need the promotion, and this gives me the freedom that I'm going to need to do that. He was like, oh, well, that's pretty good money. He was like, but I doubt that it's going to last. And it was like, man, now again, his heart was in the right place. He is trying to tell me from a 50-plus-year-old store director's perspective all of the heartache that he had to go through to get here and the likelihood that a young 17 or 19-year-old boy would have the fortitude to run a business and keep a business up. He was assuming that I was just a young whippersnapper that had a couple people and didn't have an enterprise in mind. And he was giving me very, very good advice, but he was giving me advice based on the lid. Right? 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. The law of the lid. Yep. He can only advise me based on his lid. He was a store director. He was not a business owner. And this is why I say to everybody, you find somebody doing what you do or what you want to do at a higher level and you learn from them. He did his best to let me know that from his fears, from his background, from his limiting beliefs, it was better for me to take a safe retail job and pay for school than to take a risk on myself. And I want to say to all young people, I want to say to all business people, if you under 40, you got to understand, if you're under 20, you could take the risk now. Because we talked about Big Mama earlier. Like, see, when you're 20 years old, when you're 25 years old, when you're 30 years old, you can make a mistake and you can recover. So you asked me about Next Level Speakers Academy. See, I'm in recovery. See, I went on and I ran this business. I still run that business. The business is doing good. I started a real estate business. The real estate business was doing good. I was a corporate executive. Corporate executive was doing good. And God said, hey, I was like, what, God? We out here, right? I mean, I'm talking about, we good. We bankrolling. I can go on the weekends, drop me $500 to $1,000 in 4-5 hours, and I'm turning up at the club. I'm buying properties. I got a property management company. I'm out here. We good. God said, hey, what about me? What about that little thing called the gift that I gave you? Mm-hmm. I mean, God, when I'm in corporate, I'm speaking to the young people and I'm empowering them. And hey, I created you to do that. Real estate is how you make money. Thanks to Jeremy Anderson. He's the one who told me that. He put me in check. But I always had it in my heart, like, yo, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I saw Jeremy on an Instagram hunt, right? He found me on Instagram, and I'm saying find me because them ads kept hitting me. So I got on a little call like a lot of people, and Jeremy was live. I'm gonna tell you, I was like, yo, all y'all out there, Jeremy's going to be live on your call. So he's live. So he's not recording you. He's live. He's answering your question, and this man is giving me game. And I'm like, you know what? All right, cool. I'm gonna go for it. I had just closed on a property. I had a bankroll in the bank, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna go for it. So I went for it. I got the what's called the Next Level Speakers Academy course. I got that course, and that course taught me the basics of how to be a speaker. But what it did was it made guys, hey, because it got much louder. It got louder because it taught me like, oh, this is what I'm here for. Like, this is my creation. Because now that I have a roadmap, I now have the ability to plan to be successful. And everything magnified. And then I went to what's called the Next Level Speakers Conference. I got involved in the direct mentorship. And I was the first person to jump up there because obviously I had the money in the bank. And, you know, I had just closed on a property. I get up there. And so I got the direct one-on-one coaching. And there's these things called ride-alongs. So, like, you remember that thing that was going around? You're going to spend $500,000 for lunch with Jay-Z, or you're going to take the cash. Well, the beauty is that I was able to get the one-on-one time with Jeremy. And just the
valuable time too.
Valuable time with a mentor. But just the conversation itself, Jeremy says, you know, he said to me about, remember I told you earlier about the you can't be a millionaire on your own. Like, that was a little nugget from Jeremy. But Jeremy was like, man, bro, so you do real estate and this, that, and the other. So you said that you feel like this is your God-given talent. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, man, let me tell you, I had a trucking company. I had to let that go. He was like, what I had to realize is that was an avenue to make money. And if I was really going to live on purpose, I had to go all in and commit to this.
Wow.
And then that was when it got as loud as it could possibly get. That was where God was saying, hey, I've been trying to tell you this for years. And now you're going to have to learn the hard way. And so the hard way is that I had a cruise ship that was rolling. I had money in the bank. Family was tight. Working out. I had everything perfect because I had the whole bumpers of being in corporate. I had money on money on money. I had happiness because I was getting feedback and all of these things. But what Jeremy said to me hit me with a ton of bricks, and God started screaming loud, like, yeah, but that entire time you weren't living in the purpose that I created you for. Yes. And so when Jeremy said that to me, that was when I realized, like, oh my goodness, all right, I got to slow this ship down and I got to turn it around. Well, I don't know if you ever tried to turn something that's been rolling around. A lot of people gonna get mad
at full speed, trying to turn something around.
Right? So when you turn, people gonna start sliding. People gonna fall off, right? All kinds of things, because it depends on how fast you turn it. But it also takes a long time to turn a cruise ship. And what happened is that there was a lot of people who they weren't solid. They weren't anchored in. Right. So they flew off my ship real quick. But then there were some people who they were holding on, but they weren't anchored into my ship. They were just holding on to something heavy, and they looked like they were anchored to my ship. And then there were some people who were just heavy, but they still weren't anchored on my ship that fell off. 3 separate groups of people fell off. And so I went into a really, I don't want to say depressed, but a low spot, because I had realized that almost 20 years of my life had went past pouring into individuals that all they really wanted was what I could provide for them. And they really didn't want to, they really didn't have anything for me. Like they weren't here for me. And like, it was just all about what they could get from me. Yes. And then my mentor said to me, when did this become about you, bruh?
Wow.
When I say that's why I adore that man, this world right now is me. No, they don't do this for me. No, the reason I left him was because he wasn't following my program, and she wasn't my program, and it was me. When my mentor said, when did this become about you?
Yes.
I said, man. And it was almost like God had said it himself, because it was like, wait, the gift I gave you, Kevin, has nothing to do with them. You want to know why it is that they were entrusting you? Because you were in your gift. You want to know why they needed you? It was because they needed what I gave you, and I gave it to you to give to them, but you want to keep it, and you want to ask them for something that they can't give you. I gave you the gift, so give it freely, because you want me to give blessings freely to you. So when I say get yourself a mentor, y'all, see, there's things that they're connected to that you can't get connected. Sometimes God is going to bring a word to you, but you just too feeble-minded to hear it. So he's got to bring a messenger through. And Jeremy Anderson was my messenger. He came in, he said, when did this become about you, bro? Like when did God's gift for you become you? It's not about you. It's a gift to bring to the world. And when you recognize that, then you're going to operate in your gift. And that changed everything for me. And that's what Next Level has meant to me. That's what it has done for me. And that's why I'm so rooted in the organization, because now I realize, and Keisha, you've experienced it, the gift that God gave me ain't for me. So it's not for them to be attached to me because they love and adore me. They're attached to this little thing that God gave me. So that little piece of God that's in me, yeah, they're going to adore it because that's that little thing that God gave me, and I'm able to give out and people latch on to it. And so when I sit there and we sit and we have breakfast and you come telling me something, and all of a sudden everything in my brain switches and it just goes, and I can map out what you need to be doing, how you can do it, and where you should be, and how you can be better, and how you can maximize on this, and how you can have more economic return on this, and it just flies out of my brain.
Yes,
that's God.
Yeah,
and
I was going to say, it's funny that you say that, because I find myself doing that for other people, but they don't do that for me. And I had to realize, just like you said, it's not about me. Sometimes the people that you're pouring into, they're not even capable of pouring back into you. Right. So you have to get yourself a mentor. So when I talk to people like you, or talk to people like ET or like Jeremy or Coach Crump, it's like, that's where I get my, that's where I get my knowledge. That's where I get fed from, because sometimes people that you are speaking to, they're not even at the same level to where they can do that for you. So you can't worry about whether or not, okay, are they going to pour back into me like I'm pouring into them? That's not what it's for. You were given that gift to pour into others, and then someone else was given a gift so they can pour into you.
It's like hot water in a Dixie cup, right? You old enough to remember the little Dixie cup, right? Yeah. The Dixie cup can handle cold water. Right? But if you pour hot water into them, the bottom will start to fail on the Dixie cup. And so when you tried to pour, it would break, and there was really nothing in there. Now that Dixie cup got filled, but it didn't have the capability of filling anything else up, because what you poured into it was a hot liquid, and it's really only designed, the bottom of those cups were really only designed to handle the cool water. It was really so you could look in the morning, get the funk off your breath. That's what it was designed for. But if you ever let the water get too hot and you set that Dixie cup to the side, that Dixie cup would get flimsy on the bottom, and the water will start coming out the bottom. And now if you leave it long enough, the water level goes down. And so if you were another cup, you were a thermal cup that can handle it, and you're like, I need you to pour into me. That Dixie cup could try all it want, but the bottom falls out and there's nothing left. So it's like hot water in a Dixie cup. And that's what we have to understand. God made you a thermos, Keisha. Or God may have even made you a cast iron, what's that little melting pot? If you ever pour molten steel on something, it's going to go right on through. But sometimes you're battle tested. You're so fortified by God that God can pour hot liquid in you. And then when you try to pour hot liquid on somebody else, they just going to melt. They just going to disappear. And then you sitting back like, well, pour hot liquid in me. You can't get the hot liquid poured in you because they are not capable, because they don't have the structure that God gave you. God made you a kettle that can be forged in the fire. He made you strong. He made you iron. And when you pour that molten lava into plastic, the plastic just melts. So don't ask plastic to pour molten lava back into you. You have to ask God to keep filling you up and recognizing that He forged you to be able to handle this. And when you pour into their cup, you pour in their cup. It was never meant for them to pour back into you. That's a hard lesson that I had to learn.
Man, I wish I had an extra mic around here. I'm about to drop. That's a mic drop right there. We ain't gonna drop this one.
Right, that's a pretty mic.
Man, that is powerful and so true, because sometimes, like, we just have to remember God gave us a gift to share, not to hold in. It's not always about us. And then, like, just when you think about the journey of where you used to be to where you are now, it doesn't mean that you stop right here. You got to keep growing. You got to get to that next level. And you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. You're not going to be able to do it by thinking that, okay, I'm going to hold all this in. I'm only going to share with a few people. No, go ahead and put it out there. I've always been the type of leader to where I felt like anybody that worked for me, I'm going to tell them everything that I know, because the more I tell you, the less I have to do, and I can go learn something else. A lot of people don't think like that. They're so, they want to control what they have because they're afraid somebody is going to take. I want you to take it. Please do. Take it off my plate so I can put something else on my plate. That's the type of leader that I am.
Well, shout out to Coach Crump. It's a scarcity mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Crump was able to help me to understand all the dynamics of scarcity mindsets. There were
Mm-hmm.
some scarcity mindset things that I had. Now, I was a similar leader, right? A servant leader. And I would try to uplift and empower everybody to take my job, because what I understood in the corporate world is that when you're ready to promote, it's your ability to promote that gets you promoted. What do you mean, Kevin? It's your ability to develop leaders that gets you into the next role of leadership, because now your role is to develop leaders. But if you can't develop leaders, you can't move, because there's a need for your spot. If I lose you, I lose the team. If I lose the team, I lose productivity. So a lot of leaders get stuck in a rut because
Mm-hmm.
they begin to get selfish. As what we said was the problem in this generation: me, 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 me. And you forget that in order for you to get promoted, you have to bring somebody up who is capable of doing your job, so that the company can comfortably say, we can remove you from this role and put you in a higher role and not lose all of the work that you have done. And so many people are so concerned about themselves and their money and competition and holding people down, that they don't
Right.
understand that you're pushing yourself down, because the company's going to say, Keisha, I can't let you go. Just like when you want to say, I want to raise or I'm going to quit, you want the company to say, Keisha, I can't let you
Mm-hmm.
go. Well, when you go in there and say, well, I want a promotion, they're saying, Keisha, I can't let you go. Because what you did was you created an environment that if we remove you, we lose all of your productivity. However, Keisha, what Kevin would say to you is that if you empower the younger people, you empower the people who report to you to do your job and do your job even to you, you A,
Mm-hmm.
don't have to worry about it anymore, but B, you're now able to ask for a promotion. The company can say, oh, great, you know what, Keisha, that's amazing, because we see Kevin out there streaking forward, and we really think that he has the leadership ability to take over the role. And so we're going to go ahead and move you to Bali, and you're going to be able to go ahead and live in Bali. All expense paid. We're going to keep your salary, but we'll move you to Bali, and you can live in Bali and be a billionaire on $100,000 salary.
That's right. That's right. It's
But
possible, y'all.
all
It's
jokes
possible.
aside, when you're able to fill the role, you're able to ask for a promotion. If the company still needs that role filled by you and you only, yes, it's job security to a degree, but really it's job insecurity, because no, you're not going to get fired, but you're in jail. You
And it's
can't go
also career.
anywhere.
It's career limiting. You're
Yeah, and
limiting
that's it.
yourself.
You're stuck.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Man, so that is, yeah, and I already know Kevin, me and you can talk like all day. We've done it before,
Well,
right? But I just want to mention real quick. I remember the last time we were in Cancun. I don't know if it was the first time or the second time we were down there. I remember when one of our fellow speakers was having some issues,
mhm,
and you got on stage, and instead of you taking that time to do you and just do everything, you gave that time up and you chose to pour in to
mhm,
someone else so that they could have their moment, and it
mhm,
became a powerful moment. And I'm talking about,
mhm,
Gigi, right?
mhm,
So that was just something that has always stood out to me, because you're such a selfless person. You
mhm,
always do whatever you can to pour into everybody else.
mhm. Yeah. Well, again, that is living by what it is that I just went on that rant on. Like, I had to recognize that sometimes there are people who needs to be poured into. And again, Jeremy taught me that it's not about me. And when I recognize that it's not about me, like, I had a speech earlier. Remember, they gave me a second speech because the audio went out.
Oh, that's
But
right. That's right.
I
That's
have
right. I
been
forgot
to
that.
so many masterminds, and she was in a position, and I'm not going to share what happened because she might
Yeah.
not want us to, but she was in a position where she was broken up and she needed to be uplifted.
Hmm.
So I said she needs people to uplift her. I've got plenty of films and times and looks with me on stage. Let me take this time and let me give it. And I'm gonna encourage somebody, even if it was your first time up there. If God calls you to do something, you don't want to tell God no, please. But I just knew, again, part of my gift. I knew what she needed at the time, and instead of going up there and being like, oh, me, my, it was like, no, you know what? Let's take this time to encourage and empower Gigi, because this happened. And I had everybody already ready to do it and queued up because I knew she needed that type of energy. But that's what living is about. You know, when you start to live on your purpose to empower and encourage other people, that's what I do. I encourage and empower other people. And at that time, she needed encouragement and she needed empowerment. And I don't care if it was next level speak. I don't care if it was the DNC or the RNC. At the end of the day, if this person needed uplifting and encouragement, I am going to sacrifice my time for, because there's nothing bigger than my why. My why is why I was created. I was created to empower people and encourage people. And if I denied that, then I feel like I would be doing an injustice to what God gave me. And so it was natural for me. Just, hey, here you go. And yeah, it was a powerful moment. And I think that she really, really, really needed that, man. She's a special character. Shout out to Gigi.
Gigi. All right. But so what's next for Kevin, right? Because you got so much. You got the real estate, you know, you're a great father, you got the Ferguson Group. So what's in the next chapter for Kevin Ferguson?
Well, the next chapter is being forged. To be 100% honest, as much as I have great accolades, I'm just getting started because I am just now operating on purpose. I was frolicking about the land, living off of the fat of the gift that God had given me, right? That drive that God had put that deep down within me, that ability to speak power and life to people that attracts people to me. So therefore I have people and resources. And of course, being able to uplift and empower people makes me a good leader. And so that leadership then converted into success in the corporate world. And that corporate success led to dollars and cents. And that dollars and cents led to a great lifestyle. So really frolicking around the world with God's gift inside of me, not using it on purpose. Now that I've taken the steps to change and to move into my purpose, I'm just getting started. Because if God gave me the salary plus the income plus the other income while I was just playing with my gift, I can't wait to see what God is going to do when I operate in my gift. So you're going to see me out there motivating people, uplifting people, young entrepreneurs, business people, and business leaders to inspire them and push them forward. And that's my main target right there. But anybody who really needs to be uplifted, empowered, and pushed forward, I'm your guy. I'm the person who's going to do that. So you're going to see me out there doing that from stage. I like to facilitate small groups because small groups, I'm able to get intimate. The gift and the way that I'm learning that it works is that as I hear things, it just all falls into my brain, and then we're able to act on that. I can tell you stories, empower you, motivate you from stage, but I love that intimate setting where I can hear what you got going on, ask the right questions, and let God do his thing and let my gift do its thing, and empower you and get you on your path. So you'll see me out there coaching people, training people. You'll see me out there not-for-profits. I got a book coming out. That book will be out. It was supposed to have been out, but I'm similar to you. I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I keep changing stuff in the book. And then shout out to my man Julian Marion. He's like, just put the book out, man. And I'm like, he's like, just put the book out, man. He's like, the book's not going to be perfect. So he told me this. He said, that's why you come out with a 2.0 version. He was like, I was like, oh, he was like, that's why people keep editing their books. Just put the book out. And that's my spiritual warrior, Julian Marion. He is a rock in my corner. Anytime I'm operating outside my kingship, he goes to war for me, and helps me to fight those demons. But he keeps me in line. But I have a book that is definitely coming out. And then again, I'm with Next Level Speakers Academy. So I'm empowering people like yourself and others to take the gift that God gave them and bring it and have the highest impact that they can. So I'm right at home right now, but I'm just now getting started.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, shout out to Next Level Speakers Academy. I would not be where I am without Next Level Speakers Academy. And you know my story. You know, I was downsized back March 21st. And some weird reason, I got probably one of those Instagram emails, something where it came in, or on YouTube, something to where Jeremy popped up and I'm like, what's this about? You know, let me go to the 6-Figure Speaker Challenge. And I decided to take that plunge. It's like, I think I could do this. Well, after that first time on stage, I realized I don't know if I could do this. But after talking to you and you inspired me, it's like, you know what? I got to keep this guy in my corner because
Mhm.
whenever I need that, just that little burst of energy, I know, I think it's motivation. I know who I can call to help me just to figure out and put those puzzle pieces together. Because once again, you are very good at like somebody just giving you something and you taking it and you just making it work. You'll flip it, smack it, flip it, rub it down, do everything to it, and then pass it back to him. Like, you give me that, I'm gonna give you back this. He was like, wow. So that is definitely a greatness gift that you have.
So, I mean, but don't call me Mr. Great Day for nothing. And now this is shout out to Jessica Lundy because we came up with this acronym, but God had tagged me a long time ago. I used to walk into my job and they used to say, oh, it's a great day. It's a great day. It's a great day. And it was just like second nature to be called Mr. Great Day. But she helped me with this acronym. But when you really think about it, the only time you don't have a great day is when one of the acronyms is missing, right? You can't say great day without spelling great day. So you don't have a great day if you can't find a place of gratitude. You could have resilience. You could understand it's a new beginning. You could be determined and disciplined. You could have a positive attitude, an attitude for action. You could be on purpose. But if you don't have no gratitude, you're not going to have a great day because you can't. You're missing a piece. So what Mr. Great Day is able to do is when I run into somebody, I can recognize that there's a point in your day that it's not great. You're either missing your discipline and your determination, so you're not having a great day. You're either missing your resilience, so you're not having a great day. You're either missing the fact that you can start over, that it's a new beginning at every time, so you're not having a great day. You're missing the discipline and determination part, so you're not having a great day. Oh, you're missing the positive attitude and the attitude for action, so you're not having a great day. Oh, you're not having a great day because you don't recognize that everything you're going through is because of purpose. So Mr. Great Day is just able to recognize what part of this day you're not operating in, and that's why it's not great. And I get to remind you. So in your business, what part of your business don't you recognize? Oh, okay, you're not having any action. Oh, okay, well there's what's going on. Oh, you don't recognize the purpose of your business. Oh, okay. Oh, well you don't have any discipline and you're not even determined. There's the problem. Oh, you're not resilient. Every time something happens, then you got to close and you got to be off. Like, it's really easy for me to help people to have a great day now. Because when we came up with this acronym, now granted, Holy Spirit did show up in our meeting, and I didn't realize why, but he showed up in me and Jessica's meeting. But when they gave me this acronym, I didn't realize that the acronym went right along the gift that God had given me, which is the ability to see where a person is missing, help them feel that out, and move it up. So that's just a great day. But when it comes to a person who is running a business, I have the same gift where I can see where your business has holes. I can see where your leadership has holes, and I can tell and teach you how to fill it in. So Mr. Great Day is completely fitting. That's just how it happens. So that's Mr. Great Day. So if you're not having a great day, call up Mr. Keisha, you know this. You call up Mr. Great Day. We gonna figure it out.
Look, let me tell a quick story back to when I had my first session for, I think it was for my speaker's reel. And we were in Cancun, and I try to do something different with like my hair, y'all. So I want to, I usually wear my hair curly or in braids. And this time I decided I was going to straighten my hair out. I had no idea that it was that much moisture in the air in Cancun. So I come out my room, walk down this long hallway to go to this photo session. And I get down there and it's like, I look like a chia pet. Poof, my hair just, I look in the mirror and I run into Kevin. I got tears in my eyes. He was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And you start patting my hair like a chia pet. He was like, it's okay. It's okay. All you got to do is, do you have a comb? Let's put it back right here. Let's do something like this. He was like, you're going to be good. Then you went and grabbed, I remember who it was you grabbed. I think it was, I don't want to count on this. It was somebody you grabbed. And you guys stood there in that moment and you prayed for me. And before I went to go do this session, and every time I watch my speakers reel, I think about that moment because it's like my hair ain't what it was, but it was cute for that reel. And I'm like, I don't think I would have even gotten there had I not ran into you before I went to that session. I needed that greatness in that moment.
Hey, that's all you needed. That's all you needed, because really it was like you forgot what? You forgot the why. You forgot the why you were even doing that. You had gotten caught up in the vanity of the situation, not realizing that the whole point and the purpose of that was for you to have a reel so people could see the greatness within you. You didn't realize that when somebody watches your reel, your hair completely is going to disappear, but your words are going to be what pierced. So again, there was some part of the great day that you were missing. It was just the purpose. You were focused on everything but the purpose. Oh, how's my hair? That's it. It's okay. But now you sit down, them words that came out of your mouth, though. That's what's most important. Now, could your hair been better? Yeah. But am I going to be focused on your hair? Probably not.
Hair but me.
Yeah, right. Probably not. Right. And so you just have to stay on what it is. And you lost sight of the why. And we were able to get you back to it, reel you in. Now you look at that reel and you're like, okay, I did that. I did that. I saw your reel. I was like, okay, Keisha.
Yeah, I gotta say now that was Prince. Prince, that was all him. He did an excellent job on getting that reel together.
Yeah.
Studio, next level. What is it? Next Level Speakers Academy brand studio.
Brand studio. Yeah.
Nice. So they did an excellent job.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So I got one last question for you. So my last question I want to ask you is that, of course, the name of my show is Alpha Intuition. So, and I know I asked you this question before, but I want you to talk about what Alpha Intuition means to you.
Alpha Intuition for me is you got to try until you fail and never quit failing until you've explored all options. And then after you've explored all options, then you got to ask yourself, what options haven't you explored? And so we talked today about the law of the lid. We talked about mentorship. We talked to the acronym. We talked to all of those things. But you got to keep trying until you fail. If you haven't failed, you haven't tried hard enough. And then you can't quit because you failed. You got to stop quitting because you failed and just never quit failing. Because if you fail, you go to exhaustion. When you're trying to get your muscles together and you're working out, they say what? Do it to failure. Why? Because failure means that your muscle has extended itself to the furthest period that it can happen. But when it rests, it's going to heal and it's going to get bigger than it did before because you moved your muscle to failure. So never quit failing. And never quit until you've explored all options. Once you've explored all options, Leon Gladley taught me that when I was 23 years old. Explore all options. I had a girl once upon a time, she was driving for Lyft and they had suspended her of something because of something with the city of Chicago. And I said, all right, well, cool. Can you drive in Indiana? And she was like, I don't know. I said, well, go drive to Indiana and see if they turn you on in Indiana. Guess what they did? They turned her on in Indiana. So instead of her being broke, she was able to drive in Indiana, but she could have not explored that option. You explore all options. But the law of the lid, once you've explored all options, you got to ask yourself, what option have I not explored? And once you realize that there are still options that you haven't explored because you just don't have the capability, we talked about being forged, and some people are steel. And so when you put them in the fire, they can handle the heat. But some of y'all are Dixie cups, and you recognize when you explore all options that a Dixie cup can handle. And now you got to go to somebody who's been forged in steel that can handle the fire, that can tell you, oh, okay, now let's explore this. So you need mentorship. And so my Alpha Intuition is always explore all options. And then when you've explored all your options, never quit. You ask somebody else who's operating at a level higher than you and more successful than you. And you will then find yourself being able to find the other options. That person usually has the answer because they're made different. They're built different. And after a while, you pour enough of that liquid into the Dixie cup, then what does that hot magma do? Once it solidifies, it's going to take the shape of the Dixie cup. So now you as a little old Dixie cup out there are getting ready to be able to handle what? That hot fire because they poured that into you. And now that they poured it into you, now you got another option. Now you can handle hot liquid. You might not be ready to handle the lava. You might not be able to handle the molten metal, but you can handle that hot fire that they're going to pour into you. And that's my Alpha Intuition.
Man, what? I'm going to tell y'all like this. I ain't got enough mics to be dropping around here for all these gems and nuggets he giving us. Man, I'm just going to tell you, man, I appreciate you being on my show, Kevin. You have always been an inspiration to me. And every time I'm around you, I can't do nothing but have a great day because you just require that of people who are in your presence 100%. So
I
thank you,
try.
thank you, thank you. I'm gonna have to have you back because we didn't touched on so many things we know we can dive deeper into.
Yes, we
Especially just,
can.
I mean, just thinking about just our journeys as far as how we grew up dealing with grandmothers and dealing with the
Mhm.
corporate world and exiting and next level. So it's so many
Mhm.
other topics that we're gonna have to explore. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have him back 100%. We already know
Yes,
this.
yes, yes, yes.
All right. So if you guys found this show to be insightful and you think that it's something that Kevin said that you want to let him know, please just leave it in the comments for us. And then
Mhm.
also, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if this is your first time, please make sure you like and subscribe. And I know we talked about 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, one of my favorite books. So I'm going to put that link in the comments. So you guys, if you want to purchase that book, go right. But I've bought copies for people. I've even bought the workshop. That's one of my favorite books by John Maxwell. Love it, love it, love it. But I'm going to put our social medias down here too. If you guys would like to connect with us more on social media, don't forget to follow Kevin at Instagram at Mr. Gr8day, MRGR8DAY, Mr. Gr8day. And you can also follow him on his website or go look at everything that he has to offer. If you want him to come out and speak to your team, because you see he is so inspiring. What's your website, Kevin?
MrGr8day.com.
MrGr8day.com. I'm going to put that in the link to y'all. All right. So, all right. Now, so you guys know I always tell you this one last thing. The journey to the top of any mountain begins with one single step. So don't stop, keep climbing. And thank you for tuning in to Alpha Intuition. Until next time, y'all. Peace.